So thank you so much, Mrs. Lee, for making time for us at Harmony Kenya Foundation. We would love to know a little bit about you and the amazing work that you've done. So if you could just kindly introduce yourself.
You already said it. So I'm Radhika Lee, founder director of Nairobi International School, but most importantly, a teacher by profession, a teacher of English.
That's wonderful.
That's who I am.
So what inspired you to get into the arts? Because I'm aware that that is something that you're very passionate about. So what inspired you to do the arts or music specifically?
I think it runs in the family. I come from a family of musicians mostly, artists, I would say. My dad was into percussion. All my aunts and uncles, they played some instrument or the other. We would have sessions of music every other evening when we get together. I'm a 60s child, so we were so exposed to the rock of those days. Grew up with a lot of Beatles and Eagles and Led Zeppelin and all the artists, Deep Purple. So that's what we grew up with, and at the same time, Indian music as well. The classical Carnatic music, because everybody sang. So as children, we were exposed to it, and I think it stayed on. It runs in the blood, I guess.
That's so beautiful. And I know as an educator that music has been a very big impact for you. And I think hearing your experience just kind of shows the importance of being brought up around music and how your family can play a very big role in that. So as your role as an educator, how have you seen music impacting the students?
I think music has the most calming effect on children, not just as a subject, but just the sheer presence of music in kids' lives. I think in today's world, so full of turmoil, you watch TV, it's all about wars. You check your social media, half the stuff that's posted is about Israel or Ukraine or something that is really depressing. And I think music is a sort of vent for very many children because it does calm your nerves. And I think it's good to be creative for every child. That side, it has to be brought out somehow. That's how I see it. And that's what we try to do at NIS all the time.
Yeah, I love that so much. As a singer, I can 100% agree with that. And not just as a profession, but in life.
Yeah, just to deal with things, it helps because it has helped me. When I'm when I'm thinking, if it is there in the background somehow, it helps me through it. The whole process becomes easy.
Absolutely.
I think it is such an integral part of my life, and I have seen how it helps. So I also try to give my children that here at the school.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful, especially as an educator, that you're so intentional about making sure that music is part of the school.
Everything we do here, it has music in it somehow.
And I think when I think about life, I always wonder how life would be without music. And it's like
I can't imagine. I truly can't imagine.
Yeah, I think that would be a very scary thought.
I know.
And it's very encouraging, and I'd just like to acknowledge the work that you do as an educator. Because I feel like not many educators see the importance of music, but I am grateful that people like you exist, because then Harmony Kenya can also be able to do the work that they do. So thank you.
Having known Mr. Watatu, I think I believe in the work he is doing, and that's probably the reason when he talked to me about Harmony Kenya some years ago. I said I can support you in whatever little way I can, and I think from then on, I have been supportive all through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and thank you. And your contribution, your consistent contribution, has really helped us do so much.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah, reach over 1,000 students. Helping donate over 100 instruments, and it's thanks to amazing people like you who contribute so greatly.
Yeah, I wish more people could join hands and help in his whatever he's trying to do. Yeah, because it is for the good, definitely. Because it does make a big difference. Sure. We can see that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I'm very curious to maybe take a few steps back. When did you discover about Harmony Kenya Foundation?
how many years ago was it? I think it was 2017, if I'm not mistaken, that he spoke to me when he was still busy trying to get it together and get it off its feet. We were just sitting here in the office and talking, and he mentioned, I knew he wanted to do it even before that, but seriously getting involved probably was then. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're super grateful for that.
Yeah.
So I know that some people might be wondering that they want to be like you to make impact in music education. Maybe they're educators, or they're just, someone who's interested in impacting, music in schools. How would you advise them, or what recommendations would you give for them? Because I feel like you're always full of great ideas.
Well, I can just say, because I believe music is a great way to channel their energy, their creativity, all schools should offer music, and not just the theory part, but I think performance is a big part too.
Yes.
So much as we encourage, and Cambridge music is mostly theoretic, I personally, we decided to switch at A levels from theory Cambridge music to BTech, because it offers opportunities for children to perform and to learn more hands-on. So creating those opportunities, it's so important. And also, as a subsidiary, I think you have a program, the Music Ed. I think that is something people should consider. Then definitely it's giving musicians an opportunity, and also students more opportunities to learn more instruments. The Perry classes, they really help.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's symbiotic, it's helping the musicians who are out there, but also the children to get into that space. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think from just what you've shared, there's so many things people can start doing, and I'd just like to acknowledge that there's so many small and big acts that you have done, and one of them is actually offering rehearsal spaces to a number of very well-known musicians. I mean, among them was Sauti Soul,
and then there was Elani, there was Fena, drummer Mudodi. I can just go on, Mumala, Billy Black, Teo. I think they all started here in our music room.
Wow.
The initial days. Yeah.
And that's so impactful, because sometimes, as a musician, I can definitely speak on, sometimes you just need a rehearsal space.
I know.
Or someone to believe in you and say, it's okay, we will give you this resource, because it's so crucial. So thank you so much for influencing the music industry in Kenya.
Thank you. I was actually on the board of Pena Africa, the label that initially introduced Sauti as well, Sauti Soul, but then it sort of fizzled out and they went on their own. I was requested to be on the board, and I came on board. But I enjoyed being there while it was there.
Well, I think every single step makes such a big impact. And now I know you do a lot of things. So I would love for us to speak a little bit about the work that you're doing in Mutangari School.
Okay.
Because I feel like, we want to get to know you a little bit more, and the different causes that you support. So if you could just tell us a little bit about how you're supporting Mutangari School.
Before I talk about Mutangari, I just think it's important for you to know why I do these things.
Yes.
Because I truly believe it's my purpose. I came to this country almost 40 years ago as a teacher. I landed and I went to Mombasa, where I worked. And it's not been an easy life. But through all my experiences, one thing was very clear. My purpose is to work with children. And it didn't really matter whether they come from affluent, families, or from the very poor backgrounds. It didn't really matter. I just knew that I had to work with the children in Africa. And I think that's what I've been doing. So after the school sort of became established, and when we could afford, I realized those kids, WFP had stopped feeding children in schools. And the head there at that point in time reached out and asked if we could help. And they had like 450 kids at that point. So I said, okay, it's something doable we can do. So in 2016, we started the feeding program at Mudangari. Every single day of the school year, we feed those children. And over the years, the saying, the more you give, the more you receive. So the numbers increase. Now there are about 800 kids.
Wow.
And we haven't stopped up to date. We've been feeding those children because God gives us enough to feed them. And the head says all the time, it's because of the food that these children who are mostly slum dwellers, they come in because of the food, that one meal. They look forward to it. So we're happy to do that. And then we do a lot of other donations like books for their library, desks and chairs for their classrooms. Once a year during Christmas or Easter, the children in NIS, they collect and make gift packs for them. Things like books and pencils and pens and erasers, and usually a bar of chocolate and math set for all the candidates. Yeah, so that is done by the children, and it's been great because they're also learning to give back. Absolutely. Which is one of our core values anyways. So. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's so amazing that you're living your purpose, because there's so many people who are wondering, what is my purpose or what can I do? But I love the fact that as much as you have clarity of your purpose, you're also acting.
Yeah, you have to lead by example. If I didn't do it, they're not going to follow tomorrow. Absolutely. If I'm not there, the kids and the school should do it. So I have to be there at the forefront, I guess, and I try.
Yeah.
And we don't do it for publicity, only because you asked, I said it. But usually I don't take a picture to put in the paper, no. Yes. It's done, it's been done from 2016 up to now, but nobody knows that. Only they know.
Yes.
And every year they give me a letter. They even made me part of their board of management at Mudangari Primary because of this. I think constant help. Yeah,
that's amazing. And I think just to emphasize the importance of food, actually, as much as we're an arts organization, we also do recognize the fact that without food, you're not able to focus. You can't think, when you're hungry. So it's so important that you're able to do that. And just the fact that you're able to lead by example, I think that so many people are now able to give, in the same way. So thank you so much for opening up. Now there's an amazing concert that I know that is happening on the 2nd of December.
Yes.
The Soul for Soul. Yeah.
We've been doing it from 2009. Actually, it's a fundraiser, an annual fundraiser that we do for our main CSR, which is not Mudangari. Actually, it's a cancer initiative called CATSI. It's an acronym for Cancer Awareness and Treatment Support Initiative, to help needy patients, people who can't afford treatment. We work closely with an oncologist and Cancer Care Kenya. So Dr. Vijay is our oncologist on board. So he will send patients, needy patients, when he finds them to us, or if we find patients coming to us, we send them to Dr. Vijay, who consults free of charge.
Wow.
And then he will diagnose how far it is, and the treatment from then on. And then we just need to do a letter to the hospital, and we work with Guru Nanak, we work with Nairobi West, we work with Kijabe Mission, MP Shah. Those are the normal hospitals we send these patients to, and we promise to pay. So they don't even wait for anything. Once they get the letters, they take the patient on for treatment. Even yesterday we took on a new patient called Peter Kinianjui. Yeah. So this year I think Peter is the 4th or 5th patient.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so impactful.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a very personal, gets me emotional, because I do have family members who have experienced cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
Thanks. And I believe that it's so important to have more people who are raising awareness on it and offering support, because it's expensive.
It is.
So many levels.
So for chemo and radiation, the Nairobi hospitals are okay. All of them have a subsidized rate, especially if they know it is through Dr. Vijay and from CATSI at NIS. And then all the surgeries, normally we used to do it at Kijabe Mission. But of late, we've not had anybody undergoing any surgery. But if they were to, I think Dr. Vijay would still send them to Kijabe Mission. Yeah.
And I love the way you were able to fuse your passion for music with your purpose for being able to help people. You know, I think, you know, also music I found is so healing, even in instances like that. So I'm curious to just find out, you know, in terms of your legacy, I feel like you've already done so much, but if there was something you would like to be remembered by, is there any one thing or any focus point you would like people to remember?
It's a tough one, what you've asked. So I don't want any of this to end with me. So what I've done is set up a trust so that they can continue the work I've been doing. And it's clearly said in the mandate for the trust that they need to continue helping Harmony Kenya. It says CATSI has to continue feeding programs, whether it is Mudangari, we're thinking of absorbing more schools that need food. So those works will continue. We also have scholarship program at the school, so even that should continue. Not just at the school, I forgot to mention, we pay for kids who get admitted to uni locally and abroad.
Wow.
You know, partial scholarships in the US or UK universities, we do pay the other part. You know, kids who get maybe 50% scholarship and the other 50 they should look for themselves, and they can't because they come from very poor backgrounds. We pay when we know it's somebody deserving. Yeah.
That is extremely impactful, and I love that you already have a legacy plan.
Yeah,
you know, that is so key. And so I'd like to, you know, come to a conclusion by just start by thanking you so much for your time and all the work that you have done.
Thank you. Thank
really,
you so much.
You're welcome.
For, you know, making me talk to you.
You're welcome. You. And I have learned so much with this conversation.
You're
you know, we appreciate it. And, you know, I'd just like to maybe ask for any final words, maybe to encourage people who want to give or help, but they think maybe they